not a normal morning for three people in Knoxville, Tennessee. The date was July 8th, 1996. They located a body of a dead man. Around his body laid several $1,000s and various other objects. The deceased was identified as 31-year-old Blair Adams of Surrey, Canada. According to Detective Jimmy Jones of the Knoxville Police Department, there is no reason that Blair Adams should have been in the area. Nothing makes sense in this case. According to Detective Perry Moyers, they could find absolutely no reason why Blair Adams would be in Knoxville, Tennessee. He knew nobody. He had no business there. As Robert Stack said during this case, it isn't that like this case didn't have any questions. There was a lot of questions, and more commonly, Blair Adams left a lasting impact on everybody that he came across. Blair Adams was a foreman for his own construction company. By all accounts, he was well liked and a nice boss. According to Constable Wayne Redall, Blair Adams was a pretty normal person. He had a few jobs. He even went traveling. He even had a few relationships during his lifetime. However, there were reports from people who knew Blair that in the summer of 1996, his cheery attitude started to crack and buckle. He became a different person. According to Blair's own mother, Sandra Edwards, he would tell her, "I have problems about it." She would go to ask him what it meant, and he told her that he couldn't tell her what it actually was, and to this date she still does not understand what it was. On July 5th, Blair Adams emptied out his entire safety deposit, which included $4,000 and thousands more in precious platinum and jewels. After Blair pulled out all his items from the safety deposit, he was next seen at the border between Canada and the United States. However, due to the mass amount of money and possessions he had on him, he fit the profile of a drug smuggler. He was swiftly denied entry into the United States. Blair appeared back at his job the next day. However, he told his boss that he needed to quit. When the boss looked questionatively at him, he asked why. Blair said that he needed to clear some things up. He did not allude to what. Later that afternoon, Blair bought a plane ticket for $1,600. The route was from Canada to Germany. Later that night, Blair ended up at a friend's house. He told her that he needed a ride to the border. When she was unable to give him one, he told her that somebody was trying to kill him. When she asked him about it, he would refuse to tell her who. She ended up telling him that no matter what, she couldn't give him the ride. He said that's okay, and he left. The next day, Blair went to the airport, but instead of getting on the plane, he turned in his ticket and got a car rental. He went back to the border, and this time he was able to get through. Blair arrived in Seattle later that
Blair
night.
was in Seattle by 4 p.m.
Car,
he left his
got a
rental
ticket
for
to
a Nissan
Washington,
at the
D.C.
airport and bought a one-way ticket.
Upon arriving at Washington, D.C., Blair then got a vehicle rental and headed towards Knoxville, Tennessee. Blair was first seen in Knoxville, Tennessee at around 5:30 p.m. He was at a gas station trying to get help for his car, which would not start. When the gas station attendant looked at the key, he realized that it was actually a key to a Nissan and not a Toyota, which was what Blair was driving. The gas attendant had him empty his pockets. They could not find the Toyota key at all. Unable to get the car started, Blair ordered a replacement key. However, it would take a day, so he had his car towed to a nearby motel. According to the guest service representative for the motel, when Blair entered, he was constantly looking paranoid. He acted like somebody was either following him or was right there behind him. In the span of 1 hour, Blair entered and exited the motel 5 times before he finally decided to get a room. Blair was located half a mile from his motel. He was dead and he was nude from the waist down. All his money was scattered around, and the rest of his personal effects was still in his fanny pack that was nearby. According to the detective, the pants that Blair had on looked like they were pulled down, not by Blair himself, but by somebody else, as if they were pulling down his pants forcefully. Oddly enough, the key that was missing to Blair's vehicle mysteriously reappeared. The police originally thought that this could have been a robbery gone bad. However, due to the sheer amount of money and valuables left, that was taken off the table. They didn't thought this could have been an issue with a prostitute, but however, there was no incidents with a prostitute that they could find. They even thought that it could have been possibly a same-sex incident, and that did not pan out. Everything that they thought that it could be has led to dead ends. They really believe that this is truly a whodunit. Blair Adams' autopsy revealed that he suffered numerous cuts and abrasions to his body, and that some of the cuts on his hands could be defense wounds from fending off an attack. Ultimately, what it was that killed Blair was a severe punch that ruptured his stomach. The police ultimately believed that Blair was running from something in his mind, that his wild pilgrimage was just a way to escape reality. However, at the end of the road, he still ultimately died, as they feared that he would have when he talked to his friend. Blair's mother reminisces about her son. She wishes that he was still alive and how he would come home after all this time. However, she's finally starting to accept the reality that her son has passed away and that he'll never come back home. The final thought is just my opinion about what could have happened in the case you just watched. The final thought isn't meant to be taken as exact proof. Okay, it's time for another final thought. Blair Adams was a unique case in the same light that the Cindy James case was. She was sure someone was going to kill her, and she ultimately ended up dead. Blair's case mirrored Cindy's in numerous ways. I have 4 possible ideas. Let's see here. About what could have happened to Blair. They range from plausible to far out science fiction. First scenario. What if back in Canada, Blair could have angered someone to the point that they threatened Blair? I've seen people where I live so determined to get revenge that they followed somebody across town after a minor argument and then would assault them for no real reason. What's there to say that this couldn't have happened, but on a way more violent level? Blair could have done something that no one knows about except the person who killed him. This could have been anything from possibly interfering in a relationship to possible drugs. I know that they said that they couldn't find anything in Blair's life or his activities that led to this, but we're all able to hide things. We all have our skeletons in our closets. I think that this wasn't really... I don't think that this could have happened, but then again, it's a possibility. Like I said, you wouldn't believe how far people go to get revenge on people who they think have wronged them. Scenario number 2. We take a walk down Cookie Town for this one. In 1994, I think it's 1994. Yep, it was 1994. Okay, hold on, let me pull up my script again. There was a movie named The Stand. In this movie, an army deserter, well, at the beginning of the movie, I should say, an army deserter was claiming that he was running from what he called the Dark Man. Here's the clip.
There was a man with us some of the time. He was a dark man. I was looking through the rearview mirror and I'd see him just sitting there grinning at me. I thought I could outrun him. Get out in the dark, man.
What if there is a being on this planet that is similar to the Dark Man? It's known that stories are always loosely based in reality. Maybe Blair saw this being, maybe this being was death. Ultimately, we don't know. What is for fact is that Blair was worried he was going to be killed, and ultimately he was. For this next scenario, we take the ramp from Cookie Town and head to science fiction. In the season 6, episode 2 of the X-Files, titled Drive, a man was suffering from the effects of ELF, or extremely low frequency. This led to the death of his wife in the beginning of the episode. Here is the clip.
Words on the subject, as you can see. They're trying to restrain him. I'll tell you, we're going to move back and try and get a wider angle. See, there's the woman. What the heck? She's... There, see? She's banging her head against the window. What the hell just happened?
What if instead of blowing the person's eardrum out like it did in the X-Files, it produced some sort of visual or mental interference, where a person starts thinking that they are going to die? Somehow Blair could have been infected, and this was the outcome. The final scenario is what I think actually happened. It's the most plausible. What if Blair just pissed off someone? They got into a fight and Blair got punched in the stomach, thus killing him. The person freaked out and ran from the scene without taking anything. However, this doesn't explain Blair's pants, though. That is what ultimately confuses me. If it wasn't for the pants, then this theory could be, totally, this could have been what happened. But say this did happen, why did the person pull down Blair's pants? Unless he wanted to make it look like that it could have been a possible sexual assault. But that's just me, and as I always say, these are just my final thoughts. My final thoughts are not meant to be taken as fact. This is just one fan of the show and his opinion. But what do you think happened to Blair? Feel free to leave a comment, and I'll try to reply if I can. Thank you to everyone who watched my videos. If it wasn't for people like you, content creators like me would never exist.